Taoiseach, during the COVID crisis, we have all paid our respects and our thanks to the frontline workers, be it in the health service, be it in shops. But I think one sector, the farming community, the agricultural sector, has kept food on the table, not alone in this country, but for what we export as well for other countries. But farmers, when you talk to them at the moment, Taoiseach, are at a loss in different sectors, where if you want to cut trees at the moment on a forestry that you sowed 30 years ago, with serial objections and incompetence in a department, they cannot do it. There is a situation at the moment where 12,000 people may be soon out of work in the forestry sector, where timber is not available, and we are now looking at importing timber from Latvia and other countries to keep jobs going in the different areas. Also, Taoiseach, when you talk to farmers in relation to the GLAS, they don't know is it going to be rolled over or not. And on the new CAP, we look at a situation that there is a section in it, strictly protected area, under peaty lands, which is Donegal down to Kerry, bar a few areas, that there may not get the new CAP funding because of new regulation coming in on it. Taoiseach, your party, and indeed Fianna Fáil, in the last election, after the election was called, in all the hustlings around this country, your candidates and indeed in your manifesto gave a commitment that for the suckler sector, which is 95% of the area I'm after mentioning, from the top of Donegal along by the Shannon right down to Kerry, your party and Fianna Fáil, which is 90% of this government, or maybe 95%, gave a commitment that ye would fund a new suckler scheme to protect the suckler farmer. I am asking you the question, Taoiseach, are ye prepared to bring that in shortly? When are you bringing it in? And will you give us a date for it? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Smirlis.
Thanks very much, Deputy. And I think farmers in the farming community have been among the unsung heroes of this pandemic. One of the real worries that we had at the start of the pandemic was distribution, supply, getting food into shops, getting food onto tables, getting food in and out of the island. And between the farming sector, our hauliers and our logistics industry, we made sure that that was never a problem. And we do very much appreciate their role in that, not only making sure that we had solid food supply here in Ireland, but also that other parts of the world and other parts of Europe were well fed also. You'll be aware that this year, or at least in the past year, we've put in place about €100 million of grants for beef farmers, which has helped, and also our loan schemes, the Future Growth Loan Scheme, which is being expanded, and the COVID loan scheme, which will be launched at the end of August, will be open to farmers too, giving them low-cost finance, which will help with cash flow. We've also brought in changes to tax laws as well, to allow people who make a loss this year to claim back some of the income tax that they paid last year, which will be helpful in some circumstances. In relation to what you said about sucklers there, I don't think that was a commitment, by the way, in my party's manifesto. It may have been in Fianna Fáil's. I don't think it was in ours. We had something around sheep, but I don't think we had a specific one around sucklers. But I'll double check that, but I think you may be mistaken there. Just in relation to what you had to say about forestry, Minister Hackett now is responsible for forestry, and I know it's something that she's going to work really hard on the period ahead, because we are at an unusual stage at the moment in Ireland where it's almost impossible to either plant or fell a tree for various reasons around licences, and we need to get that sorted out, and it largely relates to legal issues, I understand. It is envisaged that GLAS will continue, at least until we've a new scheme up and running. No formal decision on that, but it is envisaged that it would continue until the new CAP starts, or in that transition period. And one thing we'll be working on in the next couple of months is getting up and running the REPS Plus or the REPS 2 scheme, which I know farmers will welcome, using proceeds from the carbon tax to set up a new REPS scheme which farmers can avail of to make changes that will be beneficial for the environment as well as for their incomes.
Taoiseach, thank you for your answers. But first of all, I agree with you that the unsung heroes, the 100 million is for a beam scheme when the price of cattle was down to 320 and 330. That was to try and keep a floor under the price of cattle. I am well familiar with the new REP scheme, which is going on a pilot scheme. But a pilot scheme is only going to be a certain number of people over a certain length of time. I beg to differ with you, Taoiseach, because I sat beside your candidate, and indeed the different farming organisations got a commitment right around each constituency from the different candidates, and it's there in black and white where your party and indeed the other large party, Fianna Fáil, and indeed other parties have given a commitment to give a new scheme to the suckler cow to protect it in those vulnerable areas. So once again, I welcome what you have said about the glass, that a rollover, but we need clarity on this. We don't need to be hearing, well, I don't know when it'll be. We need to know when is this coming, the way it takes the wonder out of it for the farmers where they're going. They have been the unsung heroes, you have said. Well, for an unsung hero, you need to give them clarity going forward. And I would once again ask you, will you stand by the commitment that has been made on the suckler herd to give a suckler welfare scheme?
Thank you, Deputy Taoiseach.
Thanks very much, Deputy Minister Cleary. When he's ready to make an announcement around Glas will, and I know he'll want to make that as soon as he can, and I don't know the details behind that, but he may need Commission approval or other things to continue it, but I'm sure he will be keen to make that announcement as soon as he can and as soon as it's confirmed. I'll have to pull out the programme for government, but to the best of my knowledge, the commitment that you refer to is not in the programme for government. I may be wrong about that, and in a coalition it is the programme for government that are the commitments made by the government, and I don't think a specific commitment on sucklers was in my party's manifesto either, by the way, but I will check that out and perhaps I'll stand corrected.